Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Berger. I'm the National Director of Cub Scouting, and welcome to Cub Chat Live this Friday on April 21st. It is one of our favorite times of the week as we are able to share with you information about Cub Scouting and answer your questions live. So remember, if you've got questions that you'd like to ask during the show, make sure you are watching on Scouting Magazine Facebook page, and we will be able to read off your comments and answer any questions that you may have. With me is a very special guest, and we've been in a partnership with the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center for several years now as we launched the Protect Yourself Rules preview adventure. And with me is Araceli. And Araceli, why don't you do a quick introduction of yourself and what you do there at the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center?
Of course. Thank you for having me on your show today. Again, my name is Araceli Martinez. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the clinical programs and outreach director of the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit about the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center. I'm going to assume that it has to do something maybe with Frank and Barbara Sinatra. I don't know.
Great question. So the center is an outpatient mental health facility for children up to the age of 17. The center was actually founded in 1986 by Barbara and Frank Sinatra. Today, the center functions as a child advocacy center, meaning that we offer more than just outpatient mental health services for children and families. Now, the center also offers forensic services, medical services, human trafficking coalition, family advocacy, and community outreach and education.
Excellent. And for those of you who are just joining, our show today is about recognizing child abuse, the programs that we have within the BSA and Cub Scouting specifically that keep children safe in our program, because April is Child Abuse Awareness Month. And we know that one of the best things that we can possibly do is, instead of being afraid of talking about the subject or talking behind closed doors about it, is to shine light on it. Let people know about this and be aware of it and not hide from it. That also means that we have programs that we introduce the topics of child abuse to our Cub Scouts. And as well as our adults. Our adults are required to take all of our adult leader training. Adult leaders are required to take youth protection training, which kind of outlines the rules and regulations we have within scouting to make sure that they are also aware of the different types of child abuse that are out there. So tell us a little bit about the Protect Yourself rules and how that got developed and a little bit more about that. This wasn't a partnership that we got to you after you have had a really successful program, and we were able to connect to provide that content to our Cub Scouts. So how did that get started?
Well, first of all, I always like to highlight that part of the mission of the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center is to counsel abused children or children with a history of abuse and neglect, but to also focus on education and prevention. So with that mission, in 2015, the Barbara Sinatra Children Foundation, in conjunction with Wonder Media and the Joshua Center on Child Sexual Abuse at the University of Washington, created this global campaign, the Protect Yourself Rules. And the purpose was to educate children to distinguish between safe touches and unsafe touches, and knowing what to do when confronted with abusive situations, emphasizing the importance of going to a trusted adult if feeling unsafe or if there has been an unsafe situation.
And this is why this partnership worked so well for, I think, both organizations. A lot of that content, the same philosophy that we want to be as preventative as possible, as early as possible, to be able to recognize those things, but also to know where those boundaries are, and that the child has a voice and how to use that voice that when you're not comfortable. So tell us a little bit. I want to show on the screen those who are not familiar with the Protect Yourself rules. They're really actually simple. And what I like about this is that the content isn't doom and gloom. the content both in videos, and there's lesson plans, there's activities that go with each of these that are on the Protect Yourself Rules website. um, Not just the scouting.org website where we have the preview adventure, but there's a lot more content that is there. Brian, if you go back to those the Protect Yourself Rules slide, we have there the rules actually have K through 3, and then they change slightly for grades 4 through 6, because we know that there's that developmental stage of what type of abuse starts happening at certain ages, and technology becomes a little bit more prevalent in fourth, fifth, and sixth grade than it does K through 3. And so there are messages that are centered around that in your Protect Yourself rules in grades 4, 5, and 6, compared to K through 3. So let's talk a little bit about the preview adventures. Those of you who may not know, um, we partnered with the Barbara Sinatra Children's Foundation several years ago. I think it was 2019. I think it was just before COVID
Yeah.
hit. We launched the Protect Yourself Rules preview adventure. Those adventures were originally launched just as online resources and could be used in place of Cyberchip. We have now have retired Cyberchip in Cub Scouting completely, and now Cub Scouts, the requirement for each rank is that they watch the video that's associated to their grade level, and so we know that uh, hundreds of thousands of Cub Scouts are watching the Protect Yourself Rules videos and getting that content. So I want to do a quick shout out to a couple folks that are watching. We've got Pack 84 in New Philadelphia, Ohio, and Cub Scout Pack 92. Thanks for watching, Rusty. I know Rusty is a loyal viewer. He's on every week. And we also have Todd from Troop 601 in New York, Assistant Scoutmaster there. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being a leader for young people in your community. And then we've got Shane, who's giving a quick, I wonder if they're watching that wood badge. They might be preparing wood badge. Araceli, just to let you know, we have some unique features within our scouting organization, and one of them is a very advanced adult leader training that talks about teamwork and talks about working together, and that's called Wood Badge. And so it's a weekend long course, 2 weekends usually. So they're probably watching live somewhere at a camp somewhere. And then we want quick shout out to Alan from Pack 24 in New Hampshire, who's a unit commissioner out there who's helping to serve and support our Cub Scout leaders. So again, if you're just tuning in, we are here with Araceli, who's with the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center, and this has been we're going on a several years partnership with the organization as we've launched the Protect Yourself preview adventures and the Protect Yourself rules into the Cub Scout world. And I want to share with you. I don't know if you've seen this, but we survey this stuff. We are all about data and research, and we really want to know if we launch something, what kind of reaction we get from it. And so I want to share two pieces of information. First of all, we've asked parents after they've watched the video with their Cub Scout, what was your child's reaction? Did your child enjoy that video? And overwhelmingly, 92% said that their child actually enjoyed the video. That's from 2,600 responses. That's a nice sample size of our community from all across the country. So obviously, you guys have a hit on your hands. I mean, this is the content is right on. It is really age appropriate. It's not scary. It's very empowering. The other piece of data that we've got is we ask parents after watching the videos and doing the preview adventure, did it help you have a conversation with your child about protecting themselves? And overwhelmingly, we've got in the almost 93% or so saying that yes, absolutely, this helped me have that conversation. But Araceli, I'm interested. Every now and then, I get a message either through email or a phone call from a concerned parent who's maybe new to Cub Scouting, and they're nervous. They're like, I don't think it's appropriate for a first grader or a kindergartner to be learning about child abuse. So, what are some things that you can help our leaders with when they have that kind of mentality, or they come across a parent that may have that kind of concern?
And I think as a parent myself, it's great to ask questions. And I always like to go back to how this content was developed. This global campaign was developed and created by child advocates, national scholars. It was scripted by and tested at various stages of development. And that development and those stages included students, parents, teachers, school administrators, and experts in the field of child abuse. So it is evidence based information. I also like to inform parents that this content is about safety, providing and equipping children with the knowledge to know what to do when confronted with abusive situations, to know what to do, who to go to. It's important. Just as we teach other components of safety to our children, it's important for children to know what to do in abusive situations.
Excellent. And again, you know, this content I've been working with it for several years now, and when we surveyed this out amongst our Cub Scout families, we just shared that overwhelming response. In addition, folks have indicated that the children have had a positive reaction to that, but also on the preventative measure, but also bringing light to situations. We actually asked the question in the survey, if after watching the video, if their child or a Cub Scout revealed an uncomfortable situation that they experienced, whether in or out of scouting. And I know we're working with you and I believe Washington University, to kind of track that, because
Right.
oddly enough, that's never really been done before. Is taking a program and seeing what kind of impact it has, um, as a direct result of participating in that program. And so we're proud to partner with you on that. And we're proud to not be afraid of the subject, but to confront the subject head on, and do what we can to keep our kids safe.
That's so important. And touching on that, I also think that um, we want the community to know that the Protect Yourself rule videos heavily included feedback from children, students, and youth. We involve them in the stages of development, from the language, the content, the characters. Children had the opportunities to tell us what they thought when this was being created and scripted by experts in the field of child abuse. So, what we heard from the students in classrooms was considered, and that is how we were able to adapt and continue with the development of the Protect Yourself rule videos for K through third and fourth through sixth. We
You
did
bet.
involve that.
One of the rules there talks about safe stranger. And when I was first exposed to this content, I found that to be probably one of the most intriguing topics, and one of the most intriguing protect yourself rules, is this idea and concept of a safe stranger, because it almost is it is contrary to what so many people have been taught or believed to be true, which is stranger danger. Uh, could you give some light on that? Where abuse is more likely to happen, and the danger of thinking that it's a stranger danger compared to.
It's a great question. There's a lot of myths and misconceptions about child abuse, but stranger safety is one of the protect yourself rules that we have on this series. But statistics actually show that 90% of children that are abused know their perpetrator. So abuse doesn't typically come from a stranger. Not always, but if we're looking at statistics, again, 90% of victims identify the perpetrator as someone that they know or that the family knows closely.
Right, and that's what the protect yourself rules informs that child to know, right? That there are safe strangers, and that there are also safe touches, right? In other
Right.
words, we don't want to create an environment where a child doesn't like you don't feel like you can hug your child, or that you can have an emotional attachment to your child. But it's letting that child know, or there are certain situations where you are going to be touched in certain areas, and that's okay, like in a doctor's office when your parent is there, and helping them recognize where that line is, of where that touch now is no longer about caring and loving place, but becomes an abusive type of touch.
And that is key because you mentioned it earlier. We don't want this content to be scary. We want children to know, we want parents and caregivers and educators to know that it's information on safety and healthy boundaries. We want children to know what's okay, what's not okay, what's considered a safe touch, what's considered unsafe. And also remembering that part of early intervention and prevention is that children don't really have a reference point. That is part of educating children about what's okay, what's not okay.
That's a fascinating point. You know, as adults, we forget how much life experience we already have and how many different reference points. We had our heart broken in high school, and we have a relationship with so many various people in our family, outside of our family. But to a child who's very young in first grade, they don't really only know their family, and where they've been exposed to in their small world of school and and home is their world. And so again, I would assume that abuse is happening and the child doesn't even know it's abuse because that's all they know.
Exactly. And that's why it's important for them to be able to distinguish that there is a difference, for them to know also what to do. Right? There may be a situation and a child may not know what to do with it. And it's equipping children with that information, understanding that they are supposed to be safe and that there are people out there that can keep them safe.
One of the things that the Protect Yourself rules also talks about is shout, run, tell. And one of the things when we partnered and created the adventure was the challenge was, how do we maintain this the appropriate level of context so that this isn't scary, um, uh, but we also don't downplay it where it's just kind of it just becomes fun and a game that doesn't really have any um, impact afterwards. And so one of the things that we developed in our den meeting plans for the protect yourself rules is to actually practice shout, run, tell. Because if you think about it, uh, the last thing you want to happen if a child is experiencing abuse or someone is making them feel uncomfortable is to not have ever voiced that out loud to stop it. And so just the actual action of yelling and saying no, or practicing what you would say if an adult is making you feel uncomfortable, or even another child is making you feel uncomfortable, um, can really make a big difference when and if unfortunately it happens in real life, right? There's that reference points of knowing what to do, and that's not the first time that they've had to do it, is when it's actually happening. um,
Absolutely.
all right, so we've got a couple more shout outs here from we've got pack 221 in Maryville, New York. Bridget, thanks for watching. And make sure you tag a friend, tag folks that are in your pack. We know most people are familiar with your protect yourself rules, but we're going to show up again. Pull out your phone. This QR code will take you straight to the page for the Protect Yourself Rules Preview Adventure. There, you will be able to find a grade specific video for each of the ranks, along with lesson plans, so that you can run a den meeting with activities that help reinforce the protect yourself rules, and then the requirements to be able to earn the belt loop or the adventure pin for Welos and Arrow of Light. And I've got some kind of inside information that I'm going to share with folks, that this has been such a great partnership. and we are moving in the direction where the protect yourself rules content is going to be a required, um, almost like a standalone adventure that's going to be a required adventure. We've done some massaging to it, as far as it's not as uh, um, simple as what the current protect yourself rules preview adventures are, but we are moving that direction where that content is going to stay in Cub Scouting for the foreseeable future. And so we're excited about that, and we're excited about the partnership that we've had with you and the Barbara Sinatra Children's Foundation. Um, what other advice would you have for, let's say I'm a I'm a leader in a Cub Scout pack, and we're going to watch the protect yourself rules as a den or as a group setting, and I have a parent who gets really concerned about it. What how how can I approach that? What are some ways that you can help guide our leaders to address parents that have concern over this topic?
Of course. First, I would definitely recommend that the educator or that the individual presenting the Protect Yourself rules is familiar with our website, fightchildabuse.org, the resources and information about the videos, because it is also accessible to parents and caregivers. If there's a parent that's nervous, worried, or has questions, they can go to the website. They have access to the same information as the presenter would. They have information as to how to report child abuse statistics, how to find help near you, and activities, lesson plans, information that may answer some of their questions or relieve some of that stress or concern about the content of the videos and the presentation.
And that's one of the beautiful things about your organization and the center and the work that you do. All these resources are so well done. They were professionally developed. The animation is just really spot on, and it's free. And,
It's
and that
really
I mean, that's amazing. Like, that it is out there for the public to see. You don't have to log into anything. You don't have to submit your email address. You don't have to join something.
no
It's
subscriptions.
so again, the website is
The
fightchildabuse.org.
website is fightchildabuse.org. Be familiar with it as a presenter, as an educator, and even as a parent. Again, why reinvent the wheel? It's already been created. This is educational material that is available to anyone free of charge, with also step by step instructions as to how to
Yes.
present this information. So we do guide and we do try to support adults presenting this information so that they know what to do with it. That is why it was created. That is how it was created. Is we want individuals to be able to utilize this resource to continue to educate children. Early intervention and prevention is key, which is why they were designed for children K through third and fourth through sixth.
Yeah, that's usually what we hear. Again, it's a small voice, right? It's 3%, 2% of parents that we hear from that are concerned. They don't think we should be talking about this, um, and 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 unfortunately, some of that also might be um, their own personal experience, and that is a concern too. What can someone do, and what recommendation would you have if there's that fear is there, and maybe they're just now realizing that, I'm 30, I'm 40 years old, and I never thought about it, but something wasn't right when I was growing up. What's their next step?
As mentioned, the fightchildabuse.org website also has information on how to find help near you. So, a question that comes up for us is, well, it's great that Barbara Sinatra Children's Center has mental health services, advocacy, forensic interviewing, and all of these services. But what about those of us that can't access the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center. So if you are able to access our webpage, fightchildabuse.org, you can find help in a location close to where you live. You're able to enter your zip code and you will receive information on child advocacy center near you. So if a parent is struggling with finding resources for themselves or for children, that is something that they're able to find directly on our website.
What a valuable resource. And so we've put it into the chat so folks can link to it. We put it up on the screen. So you'll find the Protect Yourself Rules content there, but also we know that we have viewers who are not just Cub Scouting, but they're also in Scouts BSA. We've also partnered with, as an organization, to develop new content that the Barbara Sinatra Children's Foundation has been preparing to launch, that targets middle school, high school age. I remember the partnership included us actually having a voice and a seat at the table and saying, yeah, we would like to make sure that this kind of content is part of this, because we know that this is something that has happened in the past in scouting. We know these situations, and how to prevent them. And so those videos and resources are part of Scouts BSA rank advancement for their youth. So it's been a partnership that has now spanned across the whole organization and all of our age groups. So when you go to that fightchildabuse.org website, you'll find content not only for Cub Scout age children, but if you have older children in your household, I highly recommend that you look at that resource, even if it's not a requirement or your child isn't in Scouts BSA, because we know a growing concern is youth on youth abuse. Araceli, what could you tell us about that? What are you seeing when it comes to youth on youth abuse?
Oftentimes it goes back to early education and prevention services and information that was either lacking or was not received. Our website does have information on educating youth that are older, teenagers. We also have short films to educate older children on child abuse, and not only sexual abuse, but different types of abuse. What we are seeing is a trend in the internet, which is why we have information on smart choices online. There's a lot that's going on when children are having unlimited access to the internet and electronics, is we're seeing a lot of abuse through the internet and social media platforms.
Yeah, I compare the internet like a knife, right? A knife can be a tool, or it can be a weapon, right? The knife doesn't change. It's just all in the intent and the education of knowing how to properly use it, knowing the limitations, knowing the safety measures of it. And I couldn't agree with you more. As a parent, we did not give our children unlimited access to the internet. We had a time where electronics were turned in physically at night. We had a rule of no cameras and no computers in bedrooms or behind closed doors. These are little simple things that are measurements to really help protect your children when you're talking about internet safety, and being aware, right? That filters don't always just do it. There's
Exactly.
being involved and engaged with your children and what they're doing online, being familiar with the games that they're playing online, and not being afraid to say no. Uh,
Exactly. And that is part of our global campaign, is not only teaching safety, but also healthy boundaries and assertiveness, right? We want kids to feel like they can say no, that they know how to say stop and know that it's okay to do that.
Well, we are wrapping up. I can't tell you how pleased I am that you were able to join us for this special Cub Chat Live, as we're bringing awareness to a very serious topic, but also in a way that we want to make sure that people aren't scared of it, that they don't approach the subject. It is a serious subject, but we do have lots of great resources. We've got great content, um, and it is one of the best ways for us to keep scouting safe and our kids safe. Um, because the worst thing that we could do is hope that it just goes away, and it just doesn't happen. Um, we have to approach the subject. We have to have the discussion, and the tools that Barbara Sinatra Children's Center has developed in this Protect Yourself rules are spot on. We know that our Cub Scouts love it. They have a positive reaction to it. It helps our parents have that conversation with our Cub Scouts that keeps them safe, not only in scouting but also out of scouting, and that is a path to success. Araceli, as we leave, any closing comments? Any last words of advice that you have for our viewers?
Yes, yes, thank you for the opportunity. But I do want to say, with the challenges of abuse and the dynamics of disclosure, delaying teaching safety can be detrimental to children.
Thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another point that you can bring up to that concerned parent that might think that kindergarten is too young to have this conversation. It's not. And again, watch the content. Have the parent watch. If you've got a parent who's concerned about it, have them watch the content, because it's very well done. And again, it's not scary. It's not gloom and doom. It's very empowering. Thank you again so
My
much.
pleasure. Thank
Uh,
you for having
and
me.
we look forward to a long and continuous partnership as we work together to keep our kids safe in and out of scouting, and have educate adults about child abuse and bring light to it, of how we can continue to keep all of our kids safe. Thanks again. Thank you all. We will see you next week on Cub Chat Live, Friday at 2 p.m. Central.
Thank you.